Attention! Please be advised. The following episode contains spoilers. Don't say we didn't warn you.
I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. We got the Marvin the Martian voice from Josh, and seriously, my year is made.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need but you deserve, and where all levels of nerd are welcome. We out here.
Oh, God.
We are out here. Sometimes you gotta be you and let people do them. Whatever that means. Today we break down the sequel we didn't need but deserve. We are talking about Space Jam: A New Legacy. Which
wanna jam? I'm sorry.
Not this one, man.
Oh.
Not this one. Tried 25 years ago, which is actually kind of cool. 25 years.
Hey, Quad City DJs are on both soundtracks, I'd like to thank you for that. I love infos for that.
So before we get into housekeeping, let's introduce the host. My name is Josh.
I'm Tom.
And we are joined by Neal, but we will introduce him more in just a bit.
Yeah.
We're going to do the housekeeping first.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I like housekeeping.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. Well, this episode is brought to you in part by the members of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by Patreon. As a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get fun perks. Like, you get bonus episodes that nobody else hears. You get early access to these episodes. You get access to the poll for the Guess That Grump section of our show. You get what we call the Nerd On Nudge on our other weekly show, the Nerd On Update. And you get access to secret channels on our super public Discord server.
Super public, but this is secret.
But these channels are just for you and other Nerd On Nation members to talk to us and other members. It's a fun time. Sometimes we tell the nation things that the public doesn't know.
What?
I know.
The public does know about me. I just tell them more often.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But this episode is also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the easiest way to create your own podcast. We use Podbean to host this show, Nerd On the Podcast, our other weekly show, the Nerd On Update, and our sister show, the Capeless Crusaders. Download the free Podbean podcast app to start, record, and publish your very own podcast in minutes. Podbean provides everything you need to run your podcast, and you can record and publish episodes directly from the app on your phone. Download the free Podbean app today. That's Podbean. Check it out, and I got to do this. I got to do it. It's the ad triangle.
There it is. That's the penny that we get from these ads. If you've been keeping up with the Nerd On chronology, the timeline of our show,
The timeline.
exactly, you know
This is canon.
Yes. the official timeline. Yes, a new character, a new hero has been introduced.
And I just want to tell y'all it's something that I'm super excited about because support for Nerd On the Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in the men's below the waist grooming champions of the world.
Can we get that product box out
yeah,
here?
Yeah, we can.
Show that sexiness.
I would totally show It's a beautiful the product. draws that I'm wearing right now because they sent us a nice little care package.
Tom and I somehow lined up our underwear choice because we're both wearing Manscaped underwear, which is super comfortable.
Exactly. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right. The 4.0, join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code NERDON, NERDON at manscaped.com.
I just love it. I'm so glad that I upgraded my 3.0 to the 4.0 because this looks a lot nicer. The other one's a little eggplanty, and I still like using it. But now I got new hotness, baby. You know, old busted, new hotness.
New hotness. And, of course, an honorable shout out to our other friends, Odyssey and Body Audio and Apogee. That is the housekeeping. Let us get on to this jam of an episode. This is my jam.
I'm glad. And then we can have Neal join in on all the fun. So for the listeners, something that you may not know and something I might have forgotten.
we had Neal on a couple, like, was it a year? Oh, no, it wasn't
Almost
a
a
year
year ago.
Almost a year ago.
ago. It
Because
feels
it was
like,
during the pandemic.
well, we're still kind of in the pandemic, but it just feels like that summer and this summer is the exact same time. So it was
just one long summer.
it's 500 days of summer.
Welcome to fall 2020.
Exactly.
So Neal is a friend of the show, and I'm going to tell you straight up, I didn't know he was going to be on this episode. And then he hit me up, was like, "Is this still happening?" I'm like, let me check with everyone. I need an adult.
Yes.
But Neal is a longtime partner, collaborator, storyboard, wonderful
Stobo.
writer, actor, producer, friend, lover.
Can't
All
confirm.
of the above.
Fluffer.
Wow.
And
He went there.
yeah, also he loves getting into the nerdy stuff. He's got
Absolutely.
D for Disney. D is for Disney.
DisForDisney.com.
And
What is that?
DisForDisney.com is the place for all your Disney news.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to hear me, go to
That's right. If you're sick of listening to Tom, go read it on my blog.
Well, if you want to be happy, then go.
Yeah, exactly.
Go
That's
to
it. That's
Neal.
right. That's right.
So it's a website with news and stuff. You got social media stuff for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you
was
can
there a
follow-
podcast, or there is going to be?
There was a podcast, and it's occasionally updated. Most of my focus is on the website and on social
Oh, okay.
media. So you can
Because the
follow
two
it.
things are a lot, no matter what. Like
They're a lot. Seriously, it's a whole lot. But yeah, social wise, it's at @DiasForDisney_.
Okay.
And then just DiasForDisney.com is the website.
nice, and you just report on all things Disney.
All things Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar,
And are you
occasional
the-
Nat Geo.
You're the main and only, or are there many contributors to this website?
It is only me. I do occasionally hire people
Oh, okay.
to help with some of the writing, but
Cool.
overall, yeah, it's just me.
But yeah,
Because you a writer boy too.
I'm a writer boy.
it covers a lot of stuff, like stuff that goes on the parks, the productions of films, even like merchandise. Sometimes.
Yeah,
Damn.
definitely. Yeah. Anything that comes out that's noteworthy, that's in the Walt Disney Company, the Disneyverse. You
The
might
House of
call it.
Mouse.
The House of Mouse. Yes. Anything House of Mouse that's noteworthy, I try to cover. So,
So you like Disney?
a little bit.
Okay,
A
cool.
little
I'm
bit.
Just
glad
wanna
we're
make
here
sure.
covering a Disney movie.
That's right. Exactly. No, I will tell you, one of the biggest search engine drivers of traffic recently for DiasForDisney.com is Space Jam on Disney Plus. And
I love it.
And the answer to that question for your listeners is no. Space Jam is not on Disney Plus, nor will it ever be.
What? The Serververse isn't part of the MCU?
The Serververse is not part of the MCU yet.
Oh, God.
That is DiasForDisney.com.
That's right. Answering all the most important questions.
Yeah. Without further ado, though, we'll move on to our next two segments. I'm really glad to have. It's kind of fun bringing in friends and guests onto the show and being part of the show
New
in
meat.
a sense. Yeah, exactly. You'd be kind of like thrown through the acclimation, assimilation gauntlet, process. So our next two segments for those who listen to the show or brand new, we're going to do a part where it actually references the end of the episode, where we're going to go around the table and guess who's going to have the lowest score for the episode, which is called Guess That Grump. Man, it's really different when other people don't do it. Normally, everyone else jumps into it. So it's
Come
called.
on and guess. You're gonna guess the Grump. Is that how it works?
That was solid.
That was great.
That was great.
That was great, Julie. That was perfect. So Guess That Grump is the segment of our show where
Guess
we're
That
going to go around and guess who's going to have the lowest score from 1 out of 5. No matter how high the number is, the lowest one will be the Grump for the week. Since I always explain, and I never mess that up.
No,
and I'm never.
and
doing
you
this
never have to just
No.
pick it up on the spot.
Exactly. I'm going to guess first. And I'm going to guess out of the three of us here today, who's going to have the lowest score
Mhm.
for this episode
Mhm.
is going to be Josh. Don't smile at me, Neal.
I was sure you're going to say me.
Well, you love Disney. Doesn't mean you hate Warner Brothers.
No, I love Warner Brothers.
Well, we're in the guessing part.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, this is a funny thing with three people. It's just born ultimatum. Who are you going to pick, Josh? Josh just gave Neal a nice little head smack up. Just a quick wink.
Tom.
Oh, like that was hard.
It's so weird. Like it's just like when there's multiple people, you can be like, oh, I have 3 people
have
to choose from.
options.
You have
You got
options.
options,
But when it's
exactly.
2 of your friends, you're like, who?
And one of them's a guest.
I know. I don't
Can you
want to
pick
pick
the guest?
That's
Oh,
right.
I
So
can
you
definitely
can't
pick
pick
a guest.
yourself.
Oh, you can't?
You cannot pick
Oh,
yourself.
I was
Yeah.
gonna pick me
Nope.
just to round it out.
Nope.
Oh man. Okay.
You wanted to be a Spider-Man meme? You.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
I'm gonna pick Don Cheadle.
No, he got paid. What are you talking about?
When I saw this, I went, at least I didn't piss off Don Cheadle today.
Exactly. I would never want
I
to
put on pants and I didn't piss off Don Cheadle. It's a good day.
Who's your guess?
I have to guess.
Yes, you have to guess, please.
My official guess is Don Cheadle.
It has to be one of us.
All right,
You
I'm
have
gonna,
to
all right,
guess.
all right, I'm gonna guess Tom.
All right, 2 for Tom. Okay, now this is the part that Corey usually takes over. Because if you're listening, then you.
He sent in his score.
Oh, okay. So Corey, I don't know who the F he guessed, but for our listeners, if you want to get involved and you're like, oh my god, you guys have to pick Neal. And you're
I
yelling.
don't know
at-
him, but he just shouts Grump.
Yeah, and it's like even if Caitlin was here, you should have still picked Caitlin. You get to be part of these Guess That Grump segments and being part of our Patreon polls. And you get to be announced at the very end, give it a little shout out, and you become that Guess That Gator Grumper space game winning goon squad having guesser.
Yeah, you can stop. Yep.
I improvise.
Clutch. Clutch.
Send me the Oscar. So right now with our polls, the votes are in, and between so things changed at the beginning of the day where the people who were on the poll was Tom, Josh, and Corey, and Neal was not part of it. But the polls, the way that it is right now, Neal, it's Corey. Corey is the grump, but the runner-up since for the episode for the people who are here, it's me.
It's you,
It's
okay.
me. So
I was gonna say I can also just take it on.
No.
Take on the Corey Grump vibes.
you'll be the Corey. You'll be the Corey. Okay,
That's
cool.
right.
So that now with that, we're going to the complete spoiler of this segment.
Without spoiling the episode, we're going to do our initial reactions and our first impressions of the movie.
Are we
So-
going to do a brief synopsis and
We will.
production?
That's after this.
Oh, that is true. You're right. We've been doing this show for almost 4 years, almost 400 episodes. We're good.
So without spoilers, Neal, you're the guest. What are your thoughts?
Ooh.
Give me like a little 5-sentence.
Well, first of all, I really enjoyed the movie. I should also point out that I watched both Space Jams back to back.
Oh wow!
So
Okay.
I watched the 1996 version and then immediately watched the 2021
Did you
version.
do HBO Max or did you go to theater?
HBO Max?
Okay.
Because I wanted to watch them literally
Oh, okay.
like a 3-hour movie. And it was really interesting because I, as we just pointed out, I actually do love Warner Brothers and I love the Warner Brothers properties. So some people might have seen it as potentially a giant advertisement for a lot of their properties. I loved being able to sort of travel from world to world. So again, without spoiling anything, I really enjoyed it and I loved the intersectionality of the different universes.
That's lovely. That's like the
that's
nicest I've ever heard a brief synopsis.
Yeah.
Josh?
I actually saw this in the theaters.
Oh,
Which one?
Oh, nice.
It was Regal up here
Okay.
by
sure.
me. It's our favorite theater. Get to
Mm.
kick back. A lot of kids.
Mm.
A lot of kids in there. Was a little nervous because it was a little rambunctious before the movie was starting, and then they quieted it down. I was like, "Go you, parents!" And it was a little bit of a roller coaster for me. There were some moments where I was like, "Yeah, they did that," and then there were points where I was like, "Yeah, they did that."
It's all in
But-
the inflection.
Yeah, exactly. So the experience of it was a little bit of a roller coaster, but I think as a whole, I did enjoy it. I watched it a couple of times, so I kind of get the feel of it. I like to go into these episodes a little bit prepared, you
Mhm.
know.
Before we used to record our episodes on a Thursday, I think, or when we record them.
I mean, they were still Sundays, but it was like when we were normally movies kids come out in theaters. Like that's just the normal expectation. So we'd have to like watch the movie sometime between Thursday and well,
Well,
technically you could see it Sunday morning. But
well, I think we used to record them like the week after.
Oh yeah.
It was back in the day, way back in proto Nerd On. Or it was like
The vanilla.
like Corey and I would go watch a movie like 4 times before actually doing an episode. So like felt very like prepared. Now that we record them like on the box office weekend, it's like kind of tough. That being said, I'll do my initial reactions.
Do it, fine.
I absolutely love the original Space Jam, but by golly, that movie doesn't mean anything. It's lovely, it's enjoyable, but I don't think it has a lot of there's kind of like what's the point at the end of it? This movie kind of had a what's the point?
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, okay. And so it's interesting again.
There's like a theme.
Yeah, and maybe it's because I'm getting older. I'm just like putting my hands into like the creative field of like writing and all that stuff. So I'm seeing like the parts. I'm seeing like, okay, this is setting up for that. This is setting up for that. This is setting up for this. Okay, cool. This is the arc that the character's going to go on. Yada yada yada. Watching this film though, like I said it on Twitter. I was like, this is the movie we definitely deserve in the IP war, in a sense, because we have the Wreck-It Ralphs and we had the Ready Player One, and I was like, and this was just their version of that, and it's like I enjoyed that this film actually like poked fun at that fact, and it seems like there's a lot of good parts that really look good on paper, but I'm like. And then I could just see some of the reshoot stuff happening there, and so I was kind of like left. I was like, "Oh man, I'm watching the movie. I'm seeing so much of the movie, and I'm not, and it's kind of like putting me in a weird vibage." But overall, like I was really happy that like I was in a theater with families, and they were
Oh, yeah.
absolutely loving it, and that made me be like, "Yeah, like it's kind of the theme. Remember fun?" I was like, "Yeah, you know,
Was
remember fun?"
fun.
So yeah, I had a whole time.
I had a
I
time.
had a whole time. But now, cool. So now that kind of gets the listeners a little bit of what our numbers might be at the very end.
Yes.
We'll move on to our next 2 segments, which are our brief synopsis and our production.
Yes. Brief synopsis will be brought to you by me. Superstar LeBron James and his young son Dom get trapped in digital space by a rogue AI. To get home safely, LeBron teams up with Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and the rest of the Looney Tunes gang for a high-stakes basketball game against the AI's digitized champions of the court, a powered-up roster called the Goon Squad.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, good.
Well, and now we'll do the production. So this film is distributed by Warner Brothers, best known for The Hobbit
Okay.
and Inception,
Wow.
and it.
It's a kind of an inside joke, Neil. I do all the things that they were like, oh, well, why didn't you mention like Batman and Superman? And all
Got it,
that?
got it.
So
He does the deep cuts sometimes.
I was
right?
going to say none of those so far have been mentioned in the movie.
Exactly. Okay, and directors is Malcolm D. Lee, best known for his work with The Best Man, Undercover Brother, and Girls Trip. Producers, there's a lot of them. Ryan Coogler, who produced films such as Judas and the Black Messiah and Bitter Root. LeBron James, who's produced things such as $1 Million Mile and What's My Name, Muhammad Ali. Maverick Carter, who produced such things as The Wall, Gap Year. And Duncan Henderson, who's produced things such as Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and Dead Poets Society.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
that's interesting.
maybe you might have saw them in the crowd. Who knows?
Yeah.
The writers, also a lot of people.
There were 6 writers, if memory serves.
Mm-hmm. So Jewel Taylor, who's worked on such things as Creed 2 and They Cloned Tyrone. Tony Rettenmayer, who's worked on such things as Cabarete and The Light Thief. The Light Thief, Her Beauty. Sorry. Oh, Light Thief. Keenan Coogler, who's worked on such things as Rachel from New York, Creed 3, and the upcoming Creed 3 film. Terrence Nance, who worked on an oversimplification of Her Beauty and Random Acts of Flyness. And Jesse Gordon, who's worked on such things as Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And Celeste Bayard, who's worked on such things as Above Average Presence and Sweet Vicious.
A lot.
The cast is LeBron James, who's worked on such things as Trainwreck and Smallfoot. Don Cheadle, worked on such things as Avengers Endgame, Hotel Rwanda. Chris Davis from Detroit and Atlanta. Sonequa Martin Green from Star Trek Discovery and The Walking Dead. Jeff Bergman from Batman Return of the Cape Crusaders. The Looney Tunes Show. Eric Bauza from Ben 10 Omniverse and DuckTales. And Zendaya from Spider-Man Far From Home and Euphoria.
I just want to do a special shout out to Bob Bergen, who was on our show, episode 159. Check it out.
Ah, Good number. And the release date was July 16th, 2021. Runtime 115 minutes. The budget was $150 million, and as of recording, it has made $54.4 million in the box office, which, again, everyone, it's a pandemic. We're still in a pandemic. The Rotten Tomatoes score is a lovely 31% from 127 critics and 83% from 250 verified audience members.
What was the audience score?
83%.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's always lovely to see the kind of the
disparity.
between-
I was actually, I'm glad you brought up the Rotten Tomatoes because I meant to look it up and I forgot. But in my head, I was like, I'm going to see if I can guess what it is. And in my head, I was thinking 35%. So 30, I was really close.
close.
I'm really impressed with myself.
No, and I mean, the first film also has a really low Rotten Tomato score.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
Yeah. And
a lot of those classic 90s have really low Rotten Tomato scores.
And they're like gems.
Yeah.
And then Rotten Tomatoes has like an editorial that says like these are the movies that actually are underappreciated movies.
I didn't know
and
that.
then
That's
plus we had Steve Rudnick on the show.
Yes,
so
we did.
He wrote the first Space Jam.
I feel so bad. Like I stumbled on Bob Bergen's name because you just said Jeff Bergman, and my brain was like Bergman.
Birdman.
No, it's Bergen. Bob Bergen.
There it is.
He was Tweety Bird.
He'll give us a note when he
Love Tweety Bird. Love Tweety Bird.
So now we'll go into the complete spoilers. Now we can do our favorite characters, our favorite parts, and we'll do our qualms, things that didn't resonate with us, and then we'll finally do our rating. So, Neil, what was your favorite parts, baby?
Oh, man. Anything involving Granny
Oh my goodness.
was just priceless. I also loved, the Neo. Like, come at me, bro. She surprised me because in the first one, she's just a cheerleader. She's she says
like
to
a background character.
Yeah, exactly. She says to Stan, the Ned.
Mhm.
I can't remember the actor's name right now.
It's not Bill Murray's character.
No, not Bill Murray's character. The big guy from Jurassic Park,
Yeah.
and
Who gets
Seinfeld
flattened.
Yeah, exactly. She says to him, "I'm a cheerleader." Like that's her role. And in this one, she has a far more active role, and she gets to be Matrix.
She's the one.
She's the one, and it's really cool too because when you look on the whiteboard when LeBron James is writing down his dream team, he writes down Trinity. Not Neo. And I was like, oh, I'm going to remember that. That's so interesting. Why did he pick Trinity, not Neo? And then you see Granny. And I was like, that's why. That's why we see Granny in that role. He wanted Trinity, not Neo. I was like, that's cool. So really anything with her I thought was sick.
I mean, I really liked just the overall, I guess, like the conceit of the film where it's like LeBron James is going to have to go through and try to find his team.
Yeah.
But then Bugs Bunny is going to have this like dubious, like, I want to get my family back.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that the two protagonists of the film are kind of working against each other in that way. It makes me feel like, man, I would have wanted to live in that a little bit longer. But I did, like, again, everything felt so like, okay, I bet you, like, I feel like in the pitch meeting with Algae Rhythm, they were like, how do we make a new Space Jam? I was like, cool, we'll just do, same thing where he gets the tunes and they make a squad. It's like, but what if, like, we complicate it? What if we do something else? Like, what if we want to grab other characters? Or like, because DC has made a lot of cameos with Looney Tunes. And so they're like, what if we do that? That's like, okay, then they kind of like pulled the movie and stretched it into like, well, now it lives in all these different IPs. So like, I did like, I'm like, I kind of see where this movie was birthed from.
Exactly.
As not just like a cheap, like, we can phone it in sequel. Because that's technically Looney Tunes back in action, if you actually think about it. And I was like,
With Brendan Fraser.
yeah, which is a fun movie, but it's not gonna win any Academy Awards. But
Well,
like,
it completely flopped.
oh yeah,
Which is the reason we don't have like a Tony Hawk Space Jam, which they were going to do. It was called Skate Jam.
Well, I mean, this is the first Looney Tunes live action since then.
It is
So
the first live action.
They
since
were
then.
like, yeah, maybe we don't do that again.
Well, literally, it was Space Jam, back in action 7 years later, and then 18 years later, A New Legacy. That's it since 1996.
yeah. And I mean, like, to me, like, it feels good that like at least this it felt like they're trying to put legs on this train and have it walk on its own. That's a really weird
Well, I mean,
I like trains with legs. Trains with legs are the only ones I'll ride.
now I can't unsee it.
Yeah, I
it's
know,
like
I
a
know.
centipede
Yeah,
on
exactly.
tracks.
It's a monster.
It's a monster.
It's a horror film. Yes.
Josh?
Oh, I was just gonna say. I mean, to that thought of like, the Looney Tunes Looney Tunes are interesting because people can say, "Oh, this is my favorite Looney Tune," and it's not always the lead one. Like for me, it's Marvin the Martian. So I mean, like with Granny, it's like you have so many characters. It's like you can only do so much with each one without like just jam packing it with, okay, here's this one's feature scene, here's this one's feature scene. You know what I mean? So it's like, but on that note, I will say the scene with Marvin the Martian coming up, I was like, oh, that's sweet.
I have always loved Marvin the Martian.
Yeah, Marvin
makes me really happy to hear you say that.
Like when I was a kid, I would work on the voice, and then I also draw him. Like he just was always my favorite.
Can you do the voice? It's a hard one.
If you reference the episode that we did with Bob Bergen, because he's done Marvin in his career.
Okay. Did
I
he do
don't-
it on the
Bob-
episode?
no,
I did it,
Bob directed him.
and he directed
Oh,
me
wow.
as Marvin. But
Okay, well then I'll have to go back and listen to that.
yeah, do that thing. Check out our website.
Josh can do the catchphrases, but then
Yeah.
the voice is what, as Bob
Like-
Bergen would say, is like you need to be able to like take a newspaper and go to a random page and then do the voice,
Right.
and
Right.
that's how he trained.
That's
I
what
can
trained.
do. Where's the kaboom? There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom,
That's really good.
but
I need to be able
to say other things.
Yeah.
I'm blown away. Guys, seriously, this is real. This is real astonishment right now. I love Marvin the Martian, so that just made my day.
That was something. It was that I worked on, and when Jim Carrey
Wow.
in one of his movies, he does the double eyebrow
Yeah.
thing. I worked on that too. Like I just thought,
Yeah.
what kids do.
He wiggles his ear. Well, I don't know
I
if
can't
he
do the ear
actually
thing.
does, but in Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls,
Yeah.
when he's hiding with the hippos
Mm-hmm.
and his ears do the little
Yeah,
flap.
I can't do that.
No. I don't even know if that was actually him. That might have
No,
been mechanical, but
Tom?
Other favorite parts. I mean, I liked getting the idea. Like it always feels like a good heist film when you assemble the team. And so, like, I enjoyed that feeling, although I did cry on the inside of, like, oh, what are they doing to these movies? But, like, it was cool to see, like, where they would all fit. You know, where was their new homes? I mean, again, I really do like the idea of, like, with the whole Bugs, just trying to find the team. And he's just like, you know, like, I want to get Iron Man or
He's
Iron
pushing
Giant.
for his fam.
Yeah, but like I loved the dream team where it was like Superman and then Iron Giant and then like Batman. I'm like, yeah, this is a badass team. I would totally have this team. But then like going to these other universes and all that stuff and how that all played out was something I enjoyed. I did miss one thing I loved they include the original Monstars. I loved
Just
that they
like there,
included-
yeah.
same.
And I was just like, because I mean, the Goon Squad's cool, but I was kind of like, you know, like there's something so like primal. Like the green guy was my favorite, like the giant spiky neck
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
and then like the long-limbed dude, like blue dude, and then and then like the really like ripped purple short dude. And they're all very like unique looking. And here with the CGI Goon Squad, it gets a little muddy. But like I did like where they were combining with creatures and stuff like that. I'm like, animal sophistication of people, like whatever. But like it was cool. Like wet hot was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or wet fire, and I was like, all right, that's
Well,
cool.
I mean, I
Wetfire
was
was cool.
I was thinking about it, like, because I think I saw a tweet that somebody was like, "Can we all remember that this is built? This is for kids,
Yeah,
Sure.
not
30-year-old adults.
30-year-old adults
Sure.
that watch the original." And it's
Sure.
thinking about it in that mental space of like watching through it again, and it's like the aspects that it includes. Like kids today, probably familiar with algorithms and in a sense, like have an idea, CGI stuff, social media, computer space,
live
like,
streaming.
live streaming. Like it's like this has everything the modern kid probably is like, oh yeah, I know that. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not I think this is the first time that they did I think this is the first 2D. I forget what I read. It was something to the effect that it was the first 2D Looney Tunes in a long time as well, or
Mm.
something like that.
Mm.
I will say there's one show called The Looney Tune Show, and I freaking loved it. It was pretty much like if Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck were roommates in
Mm.
suburban America, and
That's
I
fun.
loved that show. And it
Like
got
an odd couple.
Yeah,
almost.
it got canceled. And I was like, dude, this is a brilliant show. Anyways, what other favorite parts, Neil?
Well, you took my Marvin the Martian.
I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. we got the Marvin the Martian voice from Josh, and seriously, my year is made. It's all downhill from here.
welcome.
Is this? Are we spoilers now?
Spoilers, man.
Spoilers.
Okay.
Spoilers,
Okay.
please.
I was truly not expecting the Bugs Bunny self-sacrifice.
Oh, but it was
and
great.
it was phenomenal, and I was sort of trying to process it afterwards, and I'm a little torn on not getting an explanation, and at the same time,
You mean at the end, like he's okay?
when he just says, "I'm a cartoon, I can handle anything,
Yeah.
I can live through, I can survive anything,"
Yeah.
and I thought, on the one hand, that's the best explanation they could have possibly given, and on the other hand, I was like, man, I wish I could have had a little bit more. But
I'm an adult now.
yeah, exactly. But the tension between those two for me, and this is maybe why I love that moment so much. I mean, self-sacrifice in movies,
Is
when
going
it's
straight.
done well, is just
Is that your thing?
it just tugs at you.
Well, the
Okay.
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
thing was that like LeBron was going to make the sacrifice.
Exactly.
And then
unexpected self-sacrifice.
but the thing is that the only person who's been acting selfishly so far has been Bugs. And so it's the save the cat. Or it's like you get the person who needs the redemption to do the
Right.
redemption thing.
Right.
And like with Bugs doing that, like the moment I saw Bugs, they left on Bugs on that frame when they broke. I was like, he's gonna do it. And like it's something kind of nice when you can rely on that stuff. Where you're like, oh, I know what's gonna happen, but like I can't wait for it to happen, and it's gonna be really great.
yeah, it's the ineluctable conclusion when you see, in that moment, because it's sort of unavoidable, but at the same time it's not predictable before the moment arrives. And the reason, what I was going to say about the tension between knowing what was happening and not really understanding how, like the mechanics of how, was that in my mind there's this sense in which maybe Bugs didn't actually know. You know, he says, "I'm a cartoon, I can survive anything," but then he starts glitching out.
Yeah.
You know, and you're kind of thinking like,
I've made a huge mistake.
exactly. like is Bugs thinking, I really might not survive this, but I have a better chance of surviving it than LeBron.
Yeah.
So I need to do this, not him.
Yeah.
I mean, just
In my head canon, I kind of think it where it's like just because they're immortal doesn't mean they don't feel pain.
right. Right.
And so like in that to your point of like that a little bit of unknown of like because algae rhythm controls the Seververse, so he can literally just pop people off of their universe.
Right.
So it's like that idea of like, yeah, you don't know what's going to happen if you get deleted.
No.
And
no.
like, can a tune ever get deleted? And it might say the message of like, well, no, characters are forever. You know, in that nice da 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 way.
Sure.
So
Well, it's kind of like what you've talked about with like the Digimon versus Pokemon universe of like the death, the
Death happens
notion,
in Digimon.
death happens.
yeah.
Wow, I spaced. I had a point.
Did
and
you
then
jam?
I just jammed.
Did you New Legacy?
Yep. I'm.
Did you space jammed in New Legacy?
Shout out to Don Cheadle.
Oh,
like, I mean, just
man.
like he.
I was going to post a meme of like, look at Jim Carrey, look at Don Cheadle. What do they have in common? They're carrying the entire weight of all the performance
Right.
in these like IP movies.
Well, can we talk about the actor dressed as the Mask
Oh,
on the
yeah.
side? I was just like, oh my god, how fun would that have been to just be the Mask as an extra?
He probably went, yeah, I will.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where
I'm here for it.
You don't even have to pay me.
It's like, oh, come in your. He's like, I'm always ready.
It's actually
right.
the craft services guy that's just like, we need a mask. I'll do it.
Done.
I'll do it.
After 20 years, my time has come.
Actually,
Exactly.
pointing out one of the like the side characters. I have a friend who works in the horror industry, and he posted on Facebook.
Can you,
on
Facebook.
can you word on the
I'm
talk
sorry.
show?
My wife was texting me that our cat got out, and I was like, it's okay. It's okay. She's back in. So there's like this nun in the background of characters, and this guy was like, so a horror movie back in 1970s, The Devils, hasn't had a remaster, and all the horror fans want a remaster, and it's on Shudder, and he's like, you can't do a remaster, but you can put them in the background.
Well, I think that wasn't that from the Conjuring universe.
Could
that
have been.
nun?
That's
It
what
could
it
have
could have been. Well, and so this is the funny thing where a lot of people were kind of like,
it's very identifiable where the nun in The Devils has like this black cross on the chest.
Oh, okay. I
and
didn't know
he's
that.
like,
Okay.
but anyway.
Yeah,
well,
that's
so
cool.
that's kind of the funny thing where a lot of people are poking fun at this movie. When I agree with it too. It doesn't mean it's void of entertainment. Of like, was this just Warner Brothers' way of like redoing their IP contracts so that no one else could buy it from them? And I was like, holy shit.
Holy
I mean, I did love seeing the entire giant like auditor or the court filled with all of the characters. So like looking for like Barney, looking for you know, you see King Kong and Iron Giant, and it's just like I want to see the other people. So like you see Space Ghost Coast to Coast, and you know it's
Yeah.
like all that.
I miss Space Ghost.
Yeah,
That's
he's
great.
flying around.
Oh, that's great. I
And-
totally missed that.
And so I mean, you see like I think you see
I forget the boys from Clockwork Orange, which is questionable in a kids movie. It is. You see,
It is.
You see Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, and then you see Eartha Kitt's Catwoman
Oh,
in the
interesting.
same place, and I was like,
You see DeVito's Penguin a
Yes,
lot.
you do.
And that makeup was great. They did a really good job with that.
You see Arnold's Freeze. So it's like seeing that stuff was like fun because it's like little eye catches where it's like, cool, there's something happening in the background that they weren't just like reanimated, just like little cartoons that are just always moving.
Right,
It's like, oh, they're actually actors who are like, just go crazy. Even though maybe the second AD needed to be like, tell them to be shocked at this moment because they were just always happy. I'm like, your team's losing, right? So I thought that was fun.
I think Chris Davis as Malik. Malik it just cracked me up, especially like the crying scenes. I'm not crying.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
I'm not crying. Another thing, I love the aspect of, because it really does modernize the story of like Dom being into video games, and like totally back in 1998, video games weren't like one of those things that like a quote valid dream. You know what I mean? Like it was just kind of like, oh, you want to do video games or whatever, and it's like, but now it's like, no, that's a valid thing that you could potentially go towards, like programming or game design and all of game development, and it was cool to see that in that light, in the way they were bringing it into the world this way, and the end when he goes to the E3 game development camp, it's just like, yeah, kids, you can do that, and it is really impressive that this kid built this game. And like when I was seeing like just like in the scenes that it was, I was like, I don't know how to I want to play this game. I want to try it.
Yeah,
I want to check it out.
Neil?
Yeah.
Any more?
No, I was just agreeing with what Josh said. I loved that. I thought that was really cool. And kids now are nativists when it comes to technology.
They're so smart.
They're so smart with it. And a 3-year-old can pick up an iPhone and like guess your passcode in 8 seconds. And they are able to intuitively work with technology in a way that, arguably no previous generation has done. And so I love what you're talking about with that, because I think you're 100% right. And I think that kids today have so many really cool opportunities in tech and in software engineering and in game design and stuff that, like I said, previous generations didn't really have that option.
Very limited resources.
Exactly.
Like I remember my computer class that I had in junior high that was on like the old school Max with the blue or pink or whatever, or like working on these computers, and like you just didn't really think about it. It was just kind of like you have computer class, so you know how to type well.
Yeah. Right.
Way to go, Mavis Beacon. Well, now it's just like kids can get into it. They can take advanced classes, go to camps that are
on their
towards it.
iPhone now.
Well, there's something I think that happens in the film that they don't really touch up. They touch on it, but they don't go deep into it, and because I think there is this weird sense that like everything you like must be monetized, and like so your passions have to become your careers versus like you could just have a hobby. And like at the very beginning of the movie, we get LeBron James like playing with the Game Boy, and it's like you can't be playing a game. It's like everyone's got a game, and it works in towards where how he's kind of enforcing this same thing onto his child. And I think I don't think LeBron in that timeline would ever become like a game developer, because there was just like not really a pathway for that sense, because game development at that time was like pioneering. But now there is a market. There is that fuel for that. So if they ever do like a continuation, I think the idea of the fun kind of like gets muddied because it's also Dom's passion in his life. It's not like something he just does for fun. I mean, of course it is fun to do it, but it's kind of like, podcasting. It's done for fun, but like it is a business at the end of the day for us.
I was just going to say, I love the reminder of that kind of, even just life lesson. It's like there's just, like you're mentioning with us and Nerd On, it's just like, I can even speak to times in the years that we've been doing this of like where there's been a moment where we've been like, guys, we gotta like we know how to do this. Let's like have fun, and it's just like loosen up of like you're still gonna learn the lessons. You're still gonna keep, there's still gonna be kind of like maturity isn't the right word to it, but there's still going to be a focus to it, and there's going to be rules, so to speak, but you got to be willing to be spontaneous and just kind of like just let it flow, man.
Well, remember fun.
Yeah,
Remember
Yeah,
fun.
remember fun.
I thought that was really cool, especially like with LeBron's, like they really established LeBron as like he is kind of almost an antagonist to his son's story, right? And he the entire time he's having to learn like what fun is, and you got to let them do them and you do you.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to say do instead of be them versus do.
Yeah.
But then and then he's like, so the best way that the Looney Tunes can win is them being loony, and like that kind of happens in the first film, where like again, I don't know what Michael Jordan's true arc is, other than the fact that he doesn't believe that he's in the Looney Tune world. Where like LeBron quickly is like, okay, cool, we're in the Looney Tune world, but like fundamentals. And then the main arc with Michael Jordan's arc is that like he stretches his arm, so he like becomes a tune in that way. Like he never became a cartoon, like where LeBron became a cartoon immediately. So like it has a different story because like Space Jam was at first more of like a novelty. And now it's like, cool, well, actually, how do we tell a story through this? So any other favorite parts before we go on?
I have one more. And I thought you'd appreciate it when they were in the DC world. It was kind of like that DC animation.
It was
style.
the Bruce Timm universe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was pretty dope. But I like that. I didn't know this until because I'm not a major basketball fan or anything, but I didn't know that sports programs used to kind of jokingly have this conversation of who LeBron would be, Batman or Robin. And I didn't. It's kind of cool to see them play that out in this.
I did like how they at every moment if they wanted to dunk on LeBron, they did.
Yeah.
They were like, well, what team is he on? Who knows? And I was like, okay. So like it was not all self-serious where you couldn't like make fun of LeBron James.
Yeah.
But also those Toon Squad uniforms were so dope.
You like those?
I liked those.
I like the original ones more, but
Yeah.
I mean these are cool and nice and colorful.
They were
I like
a modern
both, man.
update.
Yeah, I funny we're talking about it because I had like an internal conversation with myself about this. I was like,
is that
which
cool?
ones do I like more?
Yeah.
But they're both so great. They're both of a time.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
I think-
Clearly modern.
I
these
think
ones.
the
yeah.
OG ones were so cool because they were like the first of their kind. They're novelty, right? They're very simple. But the cool thing about these ones is like they have color. They're vibrant. They're out. They're splashy, and it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
that's a cool team color
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah.
Converse released a series for Space Jam: A New Legacy, and it's dope. It looks real cool.
There's a Nike series too.
Oh,
which is-
jeez.
You can
Sorry,
actually
I totally
buy
cut you off
the-
because I was so excited.
You can buy the new uniform. You can buy top and bottom and shoes all from Nike right now. It is way too tempting.
And this episode is brought to you by no.
It's just
exactly,
LeBron James landing into Toon World, and it's fucking just the Nike
Yeah.
symbol.
Right.
This movie is brought to you by.
So now,
All of the above.
now we'll go to the next segment where we'll do our favorite characters.
Okay.
And since there's a lot of characters, let's do top 3.
Top
characters.
3.
No differentiation if they have to be a tune or not a tune or whatever. Just top 3 characters who you liked. I think I can go first.
Yeah, do it.
I liked Bugs for sure
Oh yeah.
because he was devious. And then Algae Rhythm's good. And then I will say the third character, I kind of like Pete. Pete, the little animated assistant with the
yeah.
ugly teeth.
Yeah, he
And I was like,
so
oh
cute.
god,
Are you crying? There's no crying in the Serververse.
I thought he was cute.
buddy. Oh, buddy.
He was really cute.
Yeah.
You
They were really trying to sell that toy. They were like, we have to make this a toy. And those ugly teeth though.
I just love it where it's like something so cute, it's like so devious, and I'm like, I like this. I like this.
Right.
Me or you?
You go.
Me. Obviously Marvin.
Okay.
Marvin. I love that. He's in this. I kind of liked Wile E. Coyote in this.
Yeah, he was really helpful.
He was
Mhm.
super helpful.
He's like a mad scientist.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Man, it's hard because it's like, I think I'm gonna go with LeBron.
Okay.
I really,
Braun.
Brownie.
Bro.
Brown James.
I enjoyed his I enjoyed his journey in this film of like, I can understand where he's coming from and his mentality of like his career and everything of like fundamentals and like in these four walls his work. But it's like I love that his journey is like learning because I mean sports can be a very spontaneous thing too that you have to be able to just kind of go with the flow. But I enjoyed it and just from a performance, there are a few moments where I was like, that is clearly
A line right.
a sports guy acting. And then there are some
I did
moments
like
that you're like,
that joke though, where he's like, athletes doing movies, it never turns out well. And I'm like, Gary Oldman is crying right now. Like I just think of that skit.
It was very self-referential.
Yeah.
We get to actually see the pitch meeting.
Yeah.
Where character LeBron is like, no, absolutely not. But we know because we're watching this movie that in real life LeBron was like, oh yeah, let's do it.
oh yeah,
Well,
we're
they were
so doing this.
How many zeros? Okay.
Yeah. Where do I sign?
Yeah, exactly. Neal, your favorite 3 characters.
I've always been a Daffy fan,
okay.
and I thought Daffy was really fun in this. Getting to see him be more of a coach type character as opposed to the player.
I did like when Algae Rhythm had the hoodie on when he was losing.
Yes.
I was like, okay.
And when Algae Rhythm plays Bobby Knight throwing the chair, I was like, man, that's so good. So definitely Daffy. I loved Dom. I just thought, I actually, upon reflection, I think that his performance was maybe one of the most nuanced
Probably, yeah.
of the whole film. And for such a young actor, that says a lot. I think he did a really good job with the script that he was given.
And the there is a little bit of a roller coaster of emotions because he does just want to do him, and he's got this focus that he wants to do. That's a modern, like, as a kid, it's like, no, this is a legitimate thing, and
let me do me.
And he's going into this, and he's a young age, and you've got an adult that's going, no, you're
It's not even
like
an adult.
amazing.
It's like a giant celebrity athlete, celebrated person who's like, it's hard. It's a big shadow too to like find your own path under someone who like literally has like a huge success.
Yeah,
telling you like this is how you do it, and you're like, I no.
Yeah.
And then I think number 3, man, there's so many good characters in this movie. I liked that Tweety Bird had a good role. I liked that Tweety Bird had a substantial role, which was also in the first one. They give Tweety a good amount of screen time, and I thought, for someone being so tiny, what
year is it?
Yeah, exactly. You could imagine them being like, well, we just sort of have to write Tweety Bird in at some point, give him something to do.
I love when he gets the maniacal like moments when he like comes out of the smoke. And
like, when Tweety Bird gets a chance to just own the scene, I love that. I love that.
It's really satisfying when you watch a film that has a lot of characters and each person gets to have their moment.
Exactly.
But
then it does also leave in the room like you feel sad when some people don't. Like Granny being a cheerleader.
Exactly. And an omission. This is not a favorite character, obviously, but an omission was Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah,
from
you know about that, right?
In the New Legacy. I actually don't know the story of why there's no Pepe Le Pew.
So
in this one.
I forget the actor's name, and I apologize for that. But there was a moment, I think it was during the Casablanca scene, that he was going to be like trying to like chase after her. Okay. And then she was like going to slap him. And then LeBron was going to be like, "You don't do that to women." And then they just took that scene out completely.
Okay. And that was the only moment Le Pew had?
I think I could only imagine.
Well, I mean, there's also been kind of in the larger zeitgeist of the conversation of what Pepe Le Pew kind of represents. And his characterization and all that kind of stuff. I did appreciate the including of Speedy Gonzalez because a lot of people were like, they assumed that it was a racist characters, and many in the community were like, no, we have representation in cartoons.
Right.
Like, no, this is good.
With the, I loved the inclusion of the WNBA characters because not just guys play basketball.
Exactly.
I mean,
professionally,
and I know that in '96 the WNBA was not formed yet, but in the interim, in the 25 years, it's not only been formed,
I did not know that,
but also grown a lot.
Yeah.
And so being able for young girls to be able to watch Space Jam: A New Legacy and see themselves represented.
It's changed a lot
really
in
cool.
25 years.
A lot has changed
of what can be represented on
screen.
Yeah,
no, I mean, I think, and that's the thing where I was like, oh shit, I didn't even mention Lola.
Lola's awesome.
Yeah. Lola's awesome. Really cool. I was really kind of second guessing if I was going to like Zendaya or not, but like just the characterization I think was really, really good and smart to do, just because like she's trained to be on Amazon. And I was like, this
Yeah.
is bad.
And I love that they made that kind of twist of like she saved her friends, which
Mhm.
is an admirable and
Mhm.
honorable thing to do, and
Right.
like being recognized
But then,
for
and,
that.
and she's the one that kind of slaps LeBron in the face. Is like, we're just trying to be like you,
Right.
Where it's like we're trying to
Right.
do all the fundamentals and not be tunes. And
Exactly.
like, even though she could do both, and that's kind of the cool thing where it's like, there is that. So, anyways,
I forgot another favorite part was the Michael B.
Michael B. Jordan, yeah.
When it was happening, I was like, are they? They totally are.
They totally
They're
doing
gonna
it.
do it.
Like,
They're
no,
doing
the
it.
And then
moment
you
I
see
saw-
him from the back, and you're like, "That's Michael B. Jordan's silhouette."
That's Michael B. Jordan. That's not Michael Jordan for sure. I just watched The Last Dance. That's not him.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
So Myqualms?
Now we go to our qualms, and Neil, we only do 2
Oh.
qualms,
We only do
Okay.
so we
two
don't
qualms.
stay on the what things we didn't
The
like.
qualm train.
Okay, let me go. Let me go last.
Yeah, we'll show-
Yeah,
I'll-
I
we'll
want to
show
see.
you
I want
the
to see how
ropes.
it's done.
So for me, my qualms and issues with it, I could just really see the reshoots.
So there's the opening
Mm.
scene on the basketball court with the ball, which I thought was also a really funny gag. Ball, bam, we gets hit with the basketball.
Really good.
But then there's they like and
Can you explain that? Because I'm not familiar with that.
What?
The reshoots. Like,
well, like there was a second director.
Like Malcolm D. Lee was not the first director. And he only came in and he had like 4 days to prep to actually do it. So like, I mean, but it's also like, to me, it's not all like extensive reshoots, but you could tell they weren't shot at the same time. So there's a moment in that part which like so bugged me, and I just saw more of that happen where eye lines weren't right.
Oh.
Like, so
Interesting.
there's a
I
moment.
didn't catch that.
So like LeBron is talking to Dom, and Dom's walking away. He's like, "Can't be great if you be a quitter," something like that. He says something, but his eye line is just wrong. He's looking towards like the bottom right of the screen or bottom left of the screen, and I'm like, he was looking straight ahead, and so like I was like, oh my god, like, and so for me, like it became very apparent throughout the rest of the film that like they just had this moving camera that just kept plopping over. It's like cool reset, cool reset, cool reset. I'm like, just do a one shot. Like, you don't have to be all fancy, artsy, fartsy, but just do a one shot, man. Like, and just leave
Yeah.
it alone. Like, there were so many cuts between in that entire scene that I was like, of having the mom come in and with the daughter and being like, dinner's ready, and then like the shot, between the boys and the LeBron, and then all of them together. I'm like, dude, you could have all done this in like 3 shots. You didn't need to do like 5 or 8. And I was like, dude. So like that kind of stuff happened throughout the film, where it was just kind of like they just would keep cutting. I was like, you could just do this all in a long shot. Like have LeBron and Don Cheadle looking at each other on the benches as a wide shot, and you just do like a rack focus between the two. And it's like that would have been just perfect. But like there's so much cuts where it's kind of like it kind of, and this is I guess the second qualm, which is like kind of this over-aggrandizing thing. It feels like TikTok wrote the movie a little bit.
and not in a bad way, but it's more just like we're taking these vignettes of all these things and we're moving so fast that like Steve Yeun and Sarah Silverman don't have character names.
They're literally known as Warner Brothers Exec 1, Warner Brothers Exec 2.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's fun and cool to include all these things and all these people, but you kind of like, I wouldn't say it's diminishing and it's terrible, but it just kind of felt like, oh my God, we're moving so fast and we're having to establish so much. And I think, Neil, I don't know if you know this, but like there was this quote unquote mandate that all Warner Brothers films for this year have to be less than 2 hours.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's why this movie is like 1 hour and 55
It's 55 minutes. Yeah, 1 hour. 55.
And so it's like really irritating. I'm like, dude, you could have just 2
They
hours. 2 hour.
ended it and they were like, "Whew, we just made it.
We just made it.
You could have just 2 hour and 20 the movie. Like give us the extra 35 minutes. But
Yeah, there were some moments where I was like, oh, we're here now.
Yeah.
Like when the game board came down to
Already.
like, oh, it's time. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, and the whole like 24 hours to do this thing, I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna go back here and they're not even gonna be. But you think back to the original Space Jam,
and you're like, that's also not more than 2 hours. And it's like it's just a try to achieve less.
Mhm.
And that's the weird thing, that the burden of this new film has to try to achieve more
Right.
because it is a proper sequel.
Sure.
So like I feel for it in a lot of ways, but I'm like, man, you had to juggle so much, and maybe if you had just less to juggle, then I would have
Yeah.
felt a little bit better about all the characters and all their developments.
Yeah,
So,
I can see that, because you're right. I mean, even what's interesting to me is that even with almost a full 2 hours, they weren't able to flesh out
a lot.
quite all of it. Because the first one, like you said, is only like 90 minutes, I
Mhm.
think.
But like, you have Bill Murray and you have,
Larry Bird and
yeah.
Bill Murray together. Their chemistry is actually so funny when you go back and watch it.
and you have all that stuff going on, and you're like, that's all you needed, because I think for adults at the time, they're just like, cool, my favorite sports people are having cameos.
Mm-hmm.
And some
then-
of my favorite comedic people are.
Yeah,
are
and then the
there.
kids are just watching something. But now
Right.
everyone's a critic, everyone's got a blog, everyone's got a podcast, and everyone's
Right.
got all this stuff. So like it's got
It's
to
just
check.
got super meta.
It's got to check a lot of
Everyone's got a podcast.
boxes. Everyone's got a D for Disney.
Everyone's got a blog. Making fun of ourselves.
Oh, I mean, maybe I got a hard D for Disney.
Whoa.
Anyways, you guys.
My eyes can only roll so much
Mm.
at Algae Rhythm.
Oh.
When they said his name, I was like, oh.
But that's his name.
I just.
But that's his name,
But
Josh.
that's his name.
It's like Clippy. It's a paper clip.
And every time it was really hard for me to just like move past it through the whole movie. I was like, that's what you guys chose. Like, it's like, I was
would
like,
you
come
want-
on, Josh, get over it. But it was Algae Rhythm. It was like,
Would you want him to be Al Gore
no, I just
to
like,
them?
and maybe it wasn't. I mean, it's okay to like mention it like once, where it's just
And
like
it's actually Al
Algae
Gore.
Rhythm, and it could have just been like Al for the rest of the movie, but it was just like so often it was like Algae Rhythm.
Well, Algae Rhythm is the algorithm of the villain.
know.
Yeah, not sure if you caught that,
Yeah,
Josh.
did you get that?
but-
Algae Rhythm. You
Did
get it?
The algorithm. Oh my god. I get it. So it was a lot of like in my mind going, I get it.
It's actually algorithm
Algorithm.
because it's not algorithm.
algorithm.
It's algorithm.
Yeah, so I had a hard time getting past that, and I didn't realize until after the fact that I'm not the only one that views it this way, but I just felt like it was like HBO Max the movie.
Hmm?
Like the first half was just like there was a moment, and I don't remember the exact scene, but there was a moment where it was just like I was just in it. I was enjoying the movie, but there was a part of it where I was just like, this is just like, thank you for telling me what my subscription to HBO Max gives me.
Mhm.
And I was like, it was even like the color
Well,
schemes
actually
of
not.
HBO Max, and I was
Actually,
like,
not.
no.
You don't get Harry Potter on HBO Max.
You
Oh.
used to.
You have to get that on Peacock.
Oh,
Well, they used to
damn.
have
Yeah.
all 8 films though.
You know why, right? Because the TV licensing rights has to go to NBC because that was the deal they made when the movies first came out. Because
Got
no
it.
one imagined what streaming was, but
Right.
that is in perpetuity that NBC gets those rights to stream it because it's technically a TV streaming service.
Right.
So it's like, oh my goodness.
Wow.
But like, so, but no, it's HBO Max, the commercial movie.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
it was.
It's a Serververse.
Yeah, it's
Exactly,
a Seververse.
exactly.
It's like, this is what you get, and the algorithm can help you. You might like.
I did enjoy that there was a little bit of self-poking of like, we have this algorithm that makes plans. Like, this is terrible. And they're like, yes, you're right. I was like, oh my God.
I think
It's
at
just
one
like,
point he even says like, I know what you're thinking, or I know what I see you. I watch you, and it's like,
Oh, I watch you from the printer or the water cooler and all that stuff.
because I mean, I know that this conversation has been done ad nauseum, but there are times when I haven't looked it up yet, but I get an ad for something that I've talked about, and I'm like, but you said you weren't listening.
said you were listening to me.
But I turned that function off. You
No,
liar.
baby.
How do you know?
How do you know?
No,
Neil,
baby.
what do you say?
Um,
Two qualms.
Two qualms.
My first qualm is very broad, and that is that I found the plot very convoluted. There were times where I was like, what exactly? And my two qualms are very related. And the reason I felt that the plot was sort of convoluted is that Algae Rhythm was, even though, and this is, I will quote the LA Times right now because I completely agree. In one of their articles about A New Legacy, they said that Don Cheadle was, and I quote, scarily committed. And I completely agree with that assessment because he was so committed to that role. So my qualm is not with Cheadle himself, but with Algae Rhythm's motivation. I didn't understand why he was so upset. I wanted to see more of that. And so to Tom's point, they had 2 hours, but they still weren't able to unpack all of that. And for me, that made the plot more contrived. And I really wanted to understand exactly where Algae Rhythm was coming from and why he felt so slighted, because we don't get to see that. We see it. We see a slice of
It's
it.
just like bad dude.
Exactly. This is just, he's a bad guy. But it's like, no, why? Why is he so bad?
The way I'm going to explain it will feed into it, but it's also like the guy, if we're to believe in this fictional world of Warner Brothers that an algorithm has created everything for them, doesn't get respected. It's like, but you did create everything for them. That should be enough for you. But his flaw is that he's, arrogant, right? And that's it. That's literally it. It's all just arrogance. Because when they don't take his plan, he just wants to enact revenge against LeBron and just show that he's better than him.
Right.
But it's like, that doesn't get you, because I wouldn't say his motivation is respect, because he throws that right out the window when he challenges LeBron.
Right.
Because it's more about just proving how good he is. And
Yeah.
that's just arrogance.
Yeah.
So he's just an arrogant guy who created everything.
Well, what I found, it's interesting that you point that out, because to me it was not obvious that they were saying Algae Rhythm created Harry Potter, that Algae Rhythm created Batman and Robin and Superman. To me, it felt like those were intellectual property that are stored on the Seververse, but that Algae Rhythm comes up with ideas based on whatever intellectual property is already there. So Algae Rhythm's coming up with new ideas. If that was the point, that Algae Rhythm had come up with all these other IPs, I feel like they should have really hammered that home. Like, he should have been like, I brought you Harry Potter. I brought you Batman. And then I would have been like, oh, yeah, okay. Like, you've literally
I gave
changed
you these things you love.
yeah, exactly. And you've changed my life. And
to that point, I think it's maybe a little bit of both, where like maybe he didn't create those things, but he does create like the new ideas.
Right.
But it's like we don't get to see what other ideas were successful before. Like, he didn't say, I created HBO Max. I created all this stuff. And so it's like, we don't know what you really made.
Right. If he is the one that made HBO, if he's the one that made Warner Brothers into what it is, I made you and you don't respect me, that would be different. And then I would have been like, man, I really feel for him. But again, to your point, just to reiterate exactly what you said, he's just arrogant. And so I want to have some sympathy, some empathy towards that villain, towards any villain, because it makes them a more compelling character. So those are my qualms, that I felt like because we don't get enough of a backstory for Algae Rhythm, it made the whole plot a little bit more convoluted than it should have been.
What, that LeBron randomly got an email from an Algae Rhythm to come in to get pitched about the thing, and then he gets mad, and
just feels a little contrived.
It's very like, oh my god, everything had to happen.
In the first one, you understand. In the first Space Jam, you understand two things. You understand, one, that this is a Michael Jordan vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
This movie was made literally for Michael Jordan. And then also you understand why they need Michael Jordan in the first one. You know what I mean?
I love that,
Yeah, which it just makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, obviously.
If you're going to make a the one kind of story, it has to all really fit really well. Instead of
exactly.
It feels kind of hodgepodge. Like, well, this could have happened to any... What if it was The Rock? Would it not be Space Jam? Would it have been like Space Pump You Op? You know, like they just do a weightlifting challenge instead?
I mean, now we're sort of moving on. I don't know if that's okay, but there were so many lost sequels that were supposed to happen. I know I mentioned one earlier with Tony Hawk. That's the one that they had written a script.
That sounds cool.
They had literally written a script. He had to travel somewhere. I think he had to travel somewhere in Asia, maybe Japan or somewhere. And so he was like, okay, great. Well, let's table this. I'm going to go travel because I have to go do this thing. This was at the height of Tony Hawk, early 2000s. Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the whole thing. And so they had a whole script written, or at least a treatment. And so everything's going well. Then 2003 happens. Back in Action happens. Completely lands flat. And they they ghosted Tony Hawk.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? He actually apparently reached out to them and they just never wrote back. But there are a ton of others. There was a Jackie Chan that was supposed to happen. There was a Jeff...
Why you gotta hurt him?
I know. I think it was Jeff Gordon. NASCAR that was going to happen, which was going to be Race Jam.
Oh.
And the Tony Hawk was Skate Jam. And then there was going to be...
Chan Jam?
There was going to be... What was the
Fight
other...
Jam?
Man, I wish I could remember. But there are... Tiger Woods was mentioned. Clint Eastwood. I don't know what that one would have been. Make My Day Jam. But there were going to be...
Harry Jam.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, it was
$1
so...
Jam.
Right.
No?
And it was so ripe for making sequels. But Michael Jordan was, at the time, so committed to basketball. And I did a little bit of research on this. And apparently it was about 7 weeks in a green screen room for him. And he was just like, I can't do that again. I'm a basketball guy. Like, this was really fun. This was great. This was a vehicle for me. But I'm moving back onto basketball.
Yeah, well,
you know?
If you watch The Last Dance, that's on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
And it was originally on Hulu and FX and all that stuff. But they have an episode where they talk about him being on Space Jam, and he would just invite other basketball players on set to just play with him.
Yeah.
Because after in between all the shoots, he was like, I just want to play.
Right.
And everyone's like, yeah, keep your energy low because it's 12 hours. And he's like,
Exactly.
I'm an NBA.
Do you know who I
all-star."
am? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
Do you know who I am?
I also was reminded of just the powerhouse that is Muggsy Bogues. Oh God! From the first one, little guy.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, he's my jam. He's my Space Jam.
I was gonna say,
I love Muggsy.
I forget another honorable mention of characters. I love a Foghorn Leghorn.
I'll
say, winter is coming.
I'm like, oh my god.
Yes.
That looks
yes.
so stupid.
Okay, so now we have to move into the last part of our show, which is
Okay.
going to be, now we're going to do our ratings. We give our numbers from 1 out of 5. Again, no matter how high the number is, the lowest one will be the Grump for the week.
Okay.
And you could do like points. So you could do like a 2.1 or 3.5 or wherever it is. And since with all the votes, Neal, you go first since you had no votes. So we do it dramatic wise. So whoever has the most votes will go last.
Okay. And what exactly am I voting on right now?
You're rating what you think of this movie.
I'm giving a 5-star basically rating to.
Did he just say fought? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he said it. It's on the record.
Yes.
So I'm rating New Legacy.
Yes,
right
you
now.
are.
Oh wow. Okay. I did not know I was going to be doing
Yeah,
that.
it's
I wish
hard.
I wish I had thought through that one.
It's okay. It's okay.
Take your time, work through the process. Josh hates
He's
this
a
part.
friend, so we can put him
On the spot. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm okay with that. Oh man,
He's a stranger to me. I will always put you on.
this
the
is
spot.
this is really tough because can I talk it out?
Yeah.
Because I really did.
Can I come to terms?
Can I come to terms with myself?
Holy
No,
Father.
yeah, exactly. Hail Mary, full of grace. I did really enjoy the movie as a fan of all those properties and as someone just who loves animation. Grew up on
Okay, you're done. No, I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
exactly. grew up on animation. Grew up on Looney Tunes. So I loved seeing all that. I loved being a part of that world. But ultimately, for me, I felt like the plot and the script itself could have been a lot stronger. And so for me, I'm probably gonna have to say, let me before I say this, is this in terms of like just my enjoyment, or am I
It
writing
is
like
however you, because like I judge
or as a
by,
film critic? Because that's very different.
Well, so
to
I
me.
do like a kind of median thing, right? So like I'll think of like, let's say, Zack Snyder's Justice League, right? I'm
Okay.
a big fan. I'll be like, yo, 5, easy.
Okay,
But then
okay.
like my critic side is like, well, it could have been better at certain points. So I was like, okay, actually, in all honesty, it would probably be around like a 4.7, right? But then you could just do medium of the both. It's like 4, then it's a 4.9, right?
Okay.
However you want to do it. Maybe you just want to put your personal number out there, or you want to put your critic number out there. Whatever you feel like you want to kind of be remembered for to put the number.
Yeah,
out.
yeah, exactly.
No,
exactly.
up to
I
you.
mean, no pressure.
Yeah.
Right. No pressure, but
I do write it down. I make a list.
yeah,
so.
good.
So yeah, whatever.
Man, that's really tough. Can there? How nuanced can it be? Can it be a point something?
Yeah, so like a 4.2, 4.1, or 3.0.
We've even had
He's
in a
done
joking
some
way 4.256.
Got it.
And
Okay.
then
Okay.
I always round up.
All right.
You do you.
Then this is what I'm going to say.
Okay.
This is really tough. I'm probably going to go with.
I'm going to create more tension. Do you want us
please.
to give Corey's number since he's not here first?
I
Just to not. I don't know if
Do
you want
it.
to get influenced
Do
or
it.
not. But then
Come
just
on.
like
you want me to
here's
just
what-
say mine?
Just say it. Come
Okay. I'm going to go with a 2.75
2.75 for the Neal, which I'm going to say is a 2.
because, and here's why. Here's why.
Okay.
on. It's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
No, but he has to.
No, I have to. For me.
It's not for you, Josh.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
for me.
It's for me. It's for me.
Josh, you do the
Um,
same thing.
Because to Tom's point about balancing the film critic side with my enjoyment side, if all I was going on was just like my enjoyment, did I have fun watching this movie? Probably be closer to like a 3.5. Because I did really enjoy it. Maybe even as high as a 3.75 or something. But like the film critic side of me goes, okay, but let's temper that a little bit and let's think about the ways in which it could have been improved.
You just said Little Neal.
Yeah. Hey,
Down.
down, boy. But so tempering that and sort of trying to balance it together, I think a 2.75 is probably pretty accurate for me because it is not a great film,
yeah, and
but it's a very fun movie.
I typically put like the movies are in 4 to 5 range. Like those are like you should fucking buy this movie. It's a
Absolutely,
masterpiece, right?
absolutely. So it wouldn't be a 4.
Yeah.
no.
But that's just me. Everyone's like,
For me.
masterpiece. I was like, okay, whatever you want.
And everyone's 5-point scale is different.
Exactly. 100%.
So my 2.75 is going to be different from yours.
Please don't hate me.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so it's probably 2.75, maybe 3, depending on the day.
I'm gonna say 2.8 because 7.5 you round up is a 2. Anyways, no,
That
2.75.
Yeah.
Josh, you are next with the 1 vote.
And I'm wondering if my rating has affected Josh's rating, or did you have a number in mind?
No, we're actually required to write these down.
Oh, you are?
Previous.
Okay, I was just curious because sometimes the person that goes first. That's why I didn't want you to read Corey's to me.
Judgment.
Yeah, exactly. Because it can change your rating. You can be like, oh. Crap.
Yeah,
so-
we're recently we started like
Writing it down.
committing because people vote for them, and yes, conversations can sway rating, but people vote before we even say it on air. So I'm gonna say it. 3.
Okay.
That's almost identical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I enjoyed ? It's it's been a very long time since my rating has been below a 4, but this one and I do love the original so much, but this is not a comparison. There are a lot of there are things like this is a new legacy. So it was just kind of like one of those things that no, you get to have new feet. You get to have kind of like it's been so long.
Mm-hmm.
You get to, I think, be rated on your own scale. It did have its own. It did poke fun at itself of being a sequel, and kind of like there was a moment where I was like, you're not gonna draw focus that this is okay. You did it. Okay, cool. Then I'm good. But there were moments where I was like, oh man, that was ham-fisted as F. Okay.
Dad dab.
I was like,
Oh man, I was all into the dad dab. I thought that was so funny.
I mean, it's fun to see the dad dynamics and stuff like that, but also it's just like it's also LeBron acting. So
Yeah. It's an NBA player acting. That's what it is.
But like, and I haven't watched Trainwreck, but then I had heard how well he was in that movie, and I was like, what happened, baby? So before me, let's do Corey's.
Yeah.
Because he's not here and he can't defend himself.
Yeah,
let's hear
and
it.
it's the same as mine. 3.
Is it 3?
Oh, he was a 3. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're literally all on the same.
Are we? Maybe I absolutely
Are we,
Maybe
though?
I'm being paid by Warner Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm curious to see. Yeah, what's yours?
So me with the most votes. It's a 3.3.
So you're not. I mean, you're
Whoa.
unofficially the Grump.
You're
but
not, 'cause no one- yeah.
officially.
But
Me and Corey are tied for Grumps.
but I was gonna say, but the average of all of us is literally a 3. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like right there.
If you were looking at a Rotten Tomato score, it's in the 60s, not even a 70.
Yeah.
It's in the high 60s
right.
max.
Well-
for us. And it's like, and for me, I always kind of think like that, where it's like, I feel like Rotten Tomatoes is tough because it's an aggregate and it's people saying yes or no. It's not a number. It's not
Right.
truly a number.
Right. Well,
Um,
it's also not a percentage of the movie they like. It's not
Exactly.
like I liked 2/3 of the movie. No, it's 2/3 of the critics said they liked the
Yeah,
movie. or
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's like, to me, I'm like, yeah, it versus us, where it's like, it's about 60% good movie.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
so that means
so-
that Corey and I.
No, well, I mean, yes.
Well, officially me.
yeah, yes.
Of
Yes.
those that are present.
Yes.
So that means
Because if you don't
whoever
show
picked
up
me-
to the presidential, you're not a candidate.
I'm also now realizing I completely misunderstood whatever the Grump thing was at the very beginning.
Yes.
You're welcome.
I had
No,
no
just kidding.
idea what we were voting on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm realizing now as I look back, I was so confused.
All right, Josh, we're gonna need you to redo the whole episode.
yeah, exactly.
So let me download the results.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Nerd On the podcast.
And we are going to let me view them. Okay, so if Josh is the Grump for this episode
Shout out.
with 1 vote, Easy Game Media voted for you.
Hey,
shout
Spence.
shout out to them.
Spencer, shout out.
And then for Corey, since he's also not here, shout out to Dana P, Mitchell G, and Charlotte.
Aw, Dana P had inside knowledge.
Of course, it's cheating.
Dana P with that insider information.
Dana P.
That's insider trading. I do want to say, like, it was really fun to see the backlot because I work for WB sometimes.
yeah.
It was cool to see some of the locations, like the gate that when he was talking to the guard, I was like, hey, I know that gate.
Do you know that guard? Well, then don't talk.
Yeah, I know that guard. We go way back.
Who said who he lost?
But
the
it was cool, like just people that live in LA. It's cool to
Sure,
see, like
sure.
when you drive through Burbank, when you see the water tower,
Absolutely.
you're like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
They changed the
Something-
logo recently.
something we don't get to do, and it's not. Let's not make a big meal of it. But Neil, since you're a guest, would you want to see a sequel to this film?
Yeah, I would.
Would you want to do it like it's a LeBron story again, or would you want to do like one of the race jams and all that stuff?
So I would like to see what it looks like outside of basketball.
Mhm.
I think because
But it becomes a little Air Buddy.
it does, and
feel like we do.
and that was going to be my second point. I would love to see a sequel to this outside of basketball to see how Air Buddy it becomes. Because if they're able to steer away from the Air Bud territory, where it just sort of becomes this insane series of sequels that are just mashed up one after the other, like if they can actually have some fun with it and find some stars for it to be a vehicle for, because again, I think that's why the first one worked so well, partially because of who Michael Jordan is and was. But if they can find someone like that, I think that would be really cool. That being said, I do think that the first sequel being to the very first one, that this one being the first sequel to it, it had to be LeBron. I don't know who else it could have possibly been, truly.
Sadly, it might have been Kobe.
Maybe, but I still feel like because LeBron was compared to Jordan when he was like he was like a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
Whereas Kobe was people
Mind
knew
you,
he was
I know nothing.
He was almost a contemporary.
Yeah, almost more of a contemporary. They played against each other. I think they played with each other on some of those international teams. So I think that it's different because of the contemporary status and the fact that people, from the time that he was like 15 years old, people knew LeBron was going to be insanely good, whereas Kobe's high school coach wasn't totally convinced that he should go straight to the NBA. And a year later, he was on the cover of GQ. You know what I mean? So it was like he sort of proved people wrong, whereas LeBron was like, I have to prove people right, and become the GOAT that Jordan, we all know that Jordan is and was,
Yeah.
So I loved that they chose LeBron. Acting skill, don't even worry about that because Michael Jordan wasn't good, so I'm not comparing them acting wise, just superstar wise. Who else but Bron? Pretty cool.
Nice.
So we'll wrap out a little bit.
Yeah.
Neil, where can we send our listeners to you? What are your social medias, all your stuff?
Honestly, I would diasfordisney.com, obviously, as just the website, and then at diasfordisney _ on pretty much everything. I would say that mostly if you really want to see what's going on, the best way is to sign up for the weekly email, because I try to send out an email at least every other week, but when I'm really on top of it every week, so people know what's going on in the,
like we said at the top, it's a lot.
It's a lot, but in the Disneyverse. So signing up for that like weekly, bi-weekly email is probably going to be the best way to keep in touch for sure. Because I also reply to all my emails.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Dope. Well, Neil, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for letting me come and be a part of this. I'm honored.
This was
so fun.
We won't make this the last one.
No,
please,
you will be on
yeah.
again.
This was such a blast. I love this.
Everybody at home, thank you so much for listening or watching if you are on YouTube. The podcast audio-wise is on, everywhere podcasts are heard. That is the easiest way to find it. On YouTube, youtube.com/nerdonthepodcast. I learned is an actual thing recently. So,
Caitlin, you were right.
Caitlin, you were right. And
Caitlin, you were right.
I am putting myself, shut up, Neil.
Valid. I deserve that. I 100% deserve that.
Putting myself on blast. I corrected Caitlin unknowing. Anyway, nerdon.tv is our website for everything. If you forget all of the information that we're spewing out, go to nerdon.tv. If you like what you hear today, stop by, rate and review, share us with your friends and family. That kind of stuff does actually help. Many people make their judgment call on whether to listen or not based on the ratings. So do check that out. Rate, review. It helps. Everywhere. Do it. Do the thing. But thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you all. Take care of yourselves. One last housekeeping. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code NERDON at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code NERDON. Check that out and check out that Nerd On Nation. It does allow us to grow and keep being the best that we can be. Helps upgrade our content, all that fun stuff. So check it out. nerdon.tv/Patreon and check out that Discord, nerdon.tv/Discord. That's it. That's everything. You know the drill. As always,
Nerd on.
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.